There's no such thing as white pride, in part because there is no white culture. You can have pride based on your ethnicity, like Scottish, German, Irish. You can even have regional pride, like Southern pride. These things usually apply to your cultural identity, like how you grew up, etc. The one exception is black pride, and that's because they've had a unique experience no one else has. Black Americans were robbed of their culture. They don't know where they come from. Two black Americans meet. They could have come from warring African tribes. They don't know. What they do know is their American experience was similar. In other words, the thing that connects them is the color of their skin and how society has treated them as a result. The only reason I even brought up black pride was because usually the catch-all response to you shouldn't have white pride is, yeah, well, there's black pride. What about that? So I was just trying to dismantle as much of the known comebacks as I could right out of the gate to, to the best of my ability, answer that question. Everything that I know about that topic, I learned from wonderful people of color who taught me. Being proud of who you are is extremely important to the human experience. In particular, black pride obviously was born out of the civil rights movement because there was a time, and still to a certain extent today, where people were told, you are black, you are labeled black, and that makes you lesser than me.
Black cafes, but just imagine if it was an all-white cafe.
An all-white cafe? That's crazy. I can't even imagine that. It's inconceivable. Wow. And black pride was birthed out of, you are told that you are black and that is somehow a flaw. That is not true. You are beautiful. Be proud of who you are. So, in that sense, I would say black pride is extremely important. I'm going to explain to you why the Confederate flag you know today is racist. When the Civil War ended, people didn't celebrate it. It was an embarrassment. You didn't go into stores and find Confederate memorabilia. But in 1948, Harry S. Truman, the Democratic president, moved to integrate the military, and Southern Democrats didn't like this. They were already fighting to keep Jim Crow laws and segregation alive. So they broke off and they formed the State Rights Democratic Party, also known as the Dixiecrats. And when they did so, they needed a symbol to represent their cause. And what did they pick? Not one of the national flags of the Confederacy, but rather a battle flag that most today know as the Confederate flag. Now, they were short-lived, and Strom Thurmond and a lot of those other Dems ended up becoming Republicans. But the propaganda around that flag and having Southern pride stuck. Now, you can get it on a blanket or a trucker hat, but understand it only exists in pop culture today because it represents people of color not being good enough to eat at the same restaurants, swim in the same pools, or drink from the same water fountains as whites. It is literally a symbol of hate. I see things that too many people want to act like are over and done with and part of an old history in America that we clearly see still happening today. Black lives matter. No, all lives matter, they argue and scream. Well, no one said they didn't. I mean, no one, if I go out and say, let's, save the rainforest, no one comes screaming at me, hey, what about all the rest of the forest? You don't care about those. That's ridiculous. Yet, we've gotten to this point where the same people who call people who care snowflakes or who get upset about things snowflakes get upset if they're not included in every little thing. And this idea that, if it's not affecting me, it's not a real thing is such a ridiculous and dangerous idea. And the fact that we have to continue, or that people have to continue getting to the point where they're screaming and yelling and flooding into the streets to try and get attention, to just be treated like basic human beings, is shameful to me. I don't think we're listening enough. I don't think we listen to each other in general. And a big part of that is sometimes how we give the message. But too many people make remarks like, get over slavery, it was 400 years ago, or why are you still harping on that? And those tend to be the same people who get upset that a statue gets pulled down because, that's history and we need to remember our history. The double standards and hypocrisy, it seems widespread. and people just seem to be oblivious to it. So yeah, I think in general, globally, we just, as a species, should be more sensitive to each other's needs. But anything that belittles or demeans or tries to make less of other human beings is something that I take issue with. I think there will always be prejudice on some level, but I think we can diminish it to a point. I think we can all do better, and I believe we are capable of doing better.